Okay, so let's begin. Okay, 13th April. Today we'll talk about connecting to MySQL database from Python, right? So, everything that we did on directly on MySQL. Now we'll see how to do it from Python, right? Now, first thing is, it's like people speaking two different language, right? Python is a language, SQL is a language. So there are two different people speaking two different language. So how do we connect? How will they talk? And also they're in two different places, right? Python is different place and SQL is in different place. That is MySQL and this is Python, two different distinct software. So when you have two distinct software, there has to be something that will have to connect them, correct? We have to create a bridge, isn't it? Okay. If you need to go to, let's say, shop, you need to have the road. If there is no way to reach there, you can never reach. So you need to figure out, okay, what are the things that I need to know to reach there? So if you have to go to a shop, okay, what all things you need? You need the address of the shop. If you do not have the address, you can't reach. So here I'm connecting from where? From Python. So to connect from Python, I need to know the address of the database, correct? I need to know the address of database. So, so first we have to create connection string. Okay, it's an object connection string that will have all the information, or in a way, it should have the address of the database. Okay, so to work with MySQL, there is a library called PyMySQL. Okay, so there is a library called PyMySQL, which you'll have to install. So you have to say pip install PyMySQL. PyMySQL. So PyMySQL is library that provides functionalities to connect to MySQL. Right. So first thing first, you have to go to terminal, and then you have to say here at the terminal at the bottom pip install PyMySQL, Python MySQL. Right. And of course, in my case, it is already there. So I should get that requirements already satisfied. But when you're doing it for the first time, okay, it will download and install, right? Yeah, I already have it. So it says already satisfied. So I don't have to do anything now. Okay, so import PyMySQL after installation of PyMySQL. And this provides, okay, something called as connect. Okay, now if you have to connect to Oracle, there will be different library. To connect to SQL Server, there will be different library. But the functions that each of the libraries will have will be exactly the same. So you will say here, let's say connection, I call it DB connection. Okay. So, okay, database connection, DC equal to PyMySQL dot connect. Connect is the function. Here I have to give the address. I have to give the address. So what all things I need to give? I need to give first the location where the database is installed. In this case, where is the database installed? You see, these are the parameters here. Okay, host, user, password, database, port, Unix socket. These are the parameters that it takes. So minimum parameters, and at least for this, the first thing that you have to pass is called host. Okay. So host equal to IP address of the machine where database is hosted. Now in this case, it is hosted on my machine. That means I have to give my local host here. Because it is on my machine, so I'm giving local host here. Okay, then next thing I need is what else? Tell me. Can you guess? What do you
Password,
need to connect to the database?
database name,
Database name, correct. Okay. You need to give database name. Then What else?
How to give password?
Yes, username, password, correct? So first, database name. So your DB name, okay, DB. Okay, it's DB. DB is database name. So we'll go back and check. Then you have to say username. Okay, we will check. And then password. Okay, password. So password in my case is learn SQL. User is root. We'll directly use root. And database name. Remember which database we created? Was it hotel reservation? No.
No.
Visitors, right? Something called library DB. This one
Yeah,
maybe, right?
just library DB. Yeah.
Library DB.
Publishers.
So that's the database name. So I'll go back to our this one, and here I will say library DB. Okay, it also needs port, but port by default, port is okay. So we don't have to give here. But if you are using on different port, then of course you have to give port name as well. But I'm not giving because I'm going to use the default port. Okay, the default port. Okay. Now this is what these are the minimum things that we need to connect. Okay, so this is an object. That object has been created. Now what I'll do, okay, I'm going to create the link. I'm going to create the link. I'm going to say this is the address I know. Now, when I say, okay, this address is this location, so you have to create the connection, right? You have to lay a road between Python to database. So that road is called cursor actually. Okay, so I'm going to say cursor equal to object dc dot cursor. Okay, now the connection is established. Address and connection we need. So now connection is established. We can send our query from our Python to the database. Okay. So let's form a query, our first query. So I'm going to say Q1 query 1 equal to select star from, select star from, let me go and check a table name from here. So books, we have a table called books here. So as a table name, okay, see, because SQL understands SQL language, okay. Okay, since SQL understands SQL language, we need to pass the SQL language only because SQL understands SQL only, right? So you have to pass the SQL language command only. So I have written this SQL language command, which is select star from books. Okay, next. We have to execute this command. We have to execute this command, correct? Now, to execute this command, I need to say cursor dot execute and you pass Q1. Because I know, cursor knows where to go, okay, and where to execute this Q1. So cursor will go and execute query 1 on the database. Now, since this is our select statement, okay, this is going to return a value, right? It has to return some, because see, insert, update, delete, create, they don't return any value. Create the table, yes, done. Now you tell me, okay, you tell me. Okay, Saurabh, water the plant, I'll water the plant. Okay, cook food, I'll cook food. But you'll say, okay, go and get this from the shop. That means in this case, you are expecting me to give back something to you, isn't it? So select query gives value, gives value to you, isn't it? Select query gives value to you, right? Unlike other queries, which does not return. It's like one-way traffic. Go and perform insert. Go and perform delete. It will go and perform insert. It will go and perform delete. But when you say select, okay, you expect the cursor to give you some output. So there's a function called as fetch. So I'm going to say data equal to cursor dot fetch. Okay, so fetch has three values, three options. Okay, three different options for fetching. One is your fetch all. You will get all the data from the database. All the if we have 50 rows of books, you'll get all the 50 rows here. Fetch one. It'll give you the first one only. And fetch many. I want first 5 rows. So I will say fetch many and I will say 5. So it will give us 5. Okay. Sometimes fetch one we use to see if data exists in table or not. Right? So let's say table exists, table is there, but data is not there. In that case, fetch one will fail, right? Fetch one will give us 0 rows. So sometimes fetch one we use to verify if data exists in table or not. Even one value exists, fetch one will give you. Okay, fetch many is, let's say you are displaying patient record on UI. You have created a UI in Python and you want to display first 5 rows. Now you are able to display only 5 rows, right? And data will have probably hundreds and thousands. So in that case, okay, getting all makes no sense. In say, okay, fetch only 5 for me. So you are fetching only 5 rows to display onto your screen, right? When you go to, let's say, you log into a website, there will be a lot of data, but it will only show you 3 or 4. In that case, we use fetch many 5, because you can only display 5 at a time. But mostly we will use fetch all. In this case, I want to use fetch all. So now data has all the data from database. You have all the data from database. Now, what can we do? You want to print data? Let's see. Okay. So you see here, we open the database, right? You have to close the database. Always close the database at the end. And all the magic will happen between open and close. So here I'm going to say print data and see what happens. Okay, let's run it. It says unknown database library. I think there's a spelling mistake, I guess. It's not library, L-I-B, libre. Yeah, I remember we gave a mistake. Libre. Okay, you see that? You got all the data from books table. So what did we get? We are getting this as, okay, output is tuple, and each of these rows are also a tuple. This is one tuple. This is, see? Oh, sorry, this is date, right? Actually, this is one tuple. This is another tuple, right? So you are getting output as tuple of tuples. Okay, so I need to print in row wise. So what I'll do, I will say for row in data print row. So now you will get one row at a time. See that? You're getting one row at a time because I said print row, and row is one line. Okay, this is coming from print data. And this is your second print output, the loop print. So 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. Entire data is on your screen now. I want to print only book's name. What should I do then?
Instead of select star, we can use select books.
No, two. indexing of a tuple, you just give the position. So this is index 0, right?
Okay.
And this is index 1. So simply say print row. Row is the entire tuple value. So it's giving entire value. I want a specific value, right? Which one? Row of 1. Row is a tuple. So remember
Okay.
properties that we discussed in tuple. Now you see, you only have the books name,
Books.
which is the second column in the database. It's like saying select book name from books or title from books. So this is how you connect to database from Python. And you can run any query. Select, okay, run any query. Select query is where you are getting some output. So you have to do key, you have to do like data equal to cursor fetch all. If you are doing inserting some data, adding some data to the database, you don't even have to say, like data equal to. You just say cursor execute and that's it, it will execute there.
Can you come again? Like, I didn't get it exactly.
Sorry.
Like, can you come again? Like, I didn't get that.
No, so I'm saying in select query only, you are getting the output, right? So I'm
Yeah.
saying data equal to fetch all, right? But in other queries, you don't have to say data equal to fetch all. The cursor.execute itself will do the job.
Oh, okay.
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 So cursor.execute is to execute the data on database. Okay. So if you want to execute something on database, you're saying execute. But to to print it onto screen, you need to save it in your bag, right? So that's why we are saying equal to cursor.fetch all. The variable name equal to cursor.fetch all. The variable
Got it. Okay.
will have the entire output in the form of tuple of tuples.
Okay.
Okay. So now let's look at one insert also. Okay. So we will add data from our database and there we will try to read there. Okay. So let's see this. Let's first go to workbench. And I'm going to say use libredb and so select star from publishers. Let me do. Select star from publisher. So you have publisher ID, okay, P name, P email, P phone, and you have 1, 2, 3, right? So I can add one more query here. Okay. So let me try to, okay, do that. I'm going back to query here. Okay. I'm going to form Q2 and Q2 I'm going to say, because we are going to use double single quote right inside. So that's why I'm using triple quote here. Insert into, what is the table name? Publishers, right? In fact, I can copy, we have insert queries, right? I can directly copy from those insert, yeah. Okay. Okay. So, info 1, 2, now see, if we try to insert 2, what will happen? It should throw error, isn't it? So let's say this is query, and now I say cursor dot execute here. If I run it, oh, I think query 1 should be query 2, correct? Exception, duplicate entry, integrity error, right? Obviously, the integrity, we already have 2, and this is primary key. So I have to say 4 because we only have values till 3, correct? So we can give 4 here. Now when you run it, great, right? 0 error, it executed. Now if I try to execute same thing, what will happen?
Same.
No error. It is able to execute again. What happens if I go to MySQL and then try to say select star from publisher? Select star from okay, the 4th one has not been added. Why? Why do you think the 4th one has not been added? Okay, so if you remember, I would have told you, okay, that when we perform any one of these options like update, insert, delete, it happens in your session. When you connect to database, a session is created and it's only visible to you. Nobody else can see it. When you commit it, only then others will be able to see it. Okay. So you have to commit it. So you have something called as commit and rollback. Commit will save to the database. Rollback will remove from database. So when you remove the session, rollback happens. So when I'm running the program, okay, now here what I'll do is, okay, same program, let's go. Okay. And what I'll do, I will perform query 1 also. So I'm going to say cursor query 1. So I have added this insert and I'm running this cursor Q1. Q1 is select star from that. And what I'll do, for purposely, I will give here, I want to hold the program, right? So I'll say input. Input means what? It is waiting for us to give some value, right? So I have created a session, but I'm not ending it. A session is still connected. Program is not ending, right? So when I run it, program has not ended. It is still connecting. Okay, so sorry, my mistake here. That is query 1 is books, right? I should do publisher because we're adding data in publisher, isn't it? So let's make it Q3 and Q3 and I will say publisher. So you say select start from publisher. Now I run it. So see, Shark publisher is there. Why a Shark publisher is there? Because I have put input. So the session is still, program is running. The session is still active. Session has not ended. We did not go to dc.close yet. So session is still active. So in that session, you can see Shark publisher. But if I again go to MySQL and run, do you see Shark publishers? No, because when I connect from Workbench, I'm creating a new session. When you connect from your account, you're creating a new session. So there are multiple sessions connected to the database. There are multiple sessions. And whatever you do in terms of insert update is in your session only. It will not be reflect to other session. And when I go back and when I end the program now, okay, let's say I enter something and session ended, right? The session should end now. When session ends, again, so the data that we entered is deleted, automatically rolled back. Now that's why Shark is entered, it's not throwing error. So what I should do is, after performing insert, I have to say commit, dc.commit. Commit is what saves your data, saves your data in the DB. Okay. Now when I run it, here you see Shark Publisher, session is there. Now I go back to this, and now when I run Publisher, okay, so now you see Shark Publisher here. Because we have said commit, it has saved to database. Once it is saved to database, only then it is available to everybody. Did you get this? And now if I go back to my program and I say, okay, I say stop. Okay, I say stop. And then again I run it. You get error. Integrity violation, enter Q4. Because you have already entered 4. So now since it is saved permanently, okay, even this is not allowing me to enter data with 4 again. So this is how your insert and update works. If you know this, you can form any query. That's all. Did you get it? So first you have to make connection, then you have to create a cursor. That cursor will take your commands from you to the computer many times. Sometimes we also expect some response, right? That response will be shared to us using that cursor. And then to execute a query, you create a query using simple string, and then you say cursor name.execute. The query is executed. But if you want to see the output, we have to say something equal to. That's what is our this thing here in terms of select. Okay, we are getting some value. So you need to have a bag in which you want to store, and then of course you can print it. Then we went to insert, we tried to add a new row. Okay, new row would not get added until you commit the data. Okay, so once you say commit, only then data is permanently saved in the database.
We have to call this function like the dc.commit like only after
Yes.
the query.
Yes.
Okay.
And see, anytime, okay, I can
Anytime.
call the commit, okay, here also. But the moment you call commit, then everything which is unsaved in that session will be saved. So you can write 10 queries of insert, 5 of delete, update, okay. And once you say, commit, everything which is unsaved will be saved. Many times what happens, you are trying, you are learning, okay, and after some time, you want to, you said, okay, I'm enough of learning, I'm not getting what I want to unroll, I want to roll back all the changes because I don't want it to interfere into my working code. Right? So that's why we perform.
Okay.
So yeah, with that we complete our discussion on database. We can take quick 5 minutes, 10 minutes break we'll come back. And the next topic, have we done? I think we have done reading text file, correct? Reading and writing to text file we have done. Okay. Exception handling, have we done? Error handling?
Text file, I don't think so.
Error handling we have not done, correct?
Error handling we didn't do, like reading and writing into text file also I don't
So the next topic we're going to talk about is reading text files. Reading, writing, right? So you have two options, reading and writing text files. So again, so here again, so this is concept-wise very similar to reading text file, because text file is also another application, right? Not same as our database. It's a different application. So how do you read different application? We have to make connection to it, right? You have to have a connection to it, only then you can read it. Now, how do you make connection to it? So you have something called as, okay, here, open. Okay, I'm going to open the file, correct? So there you had library PyMySQL, and library.connect will connect you to the database. Here, there is no library, okay? By default, we can read text file, and we have something called as open. So we will use open to connect. Now, okay, first I have to create file objects, like we created object there, DC. Here we'll create our file object, and I'm going to say open. Open has at least two parameters. First is the file name that you want to open, something.txt that you want to open. So let's say I say a11.txt. Now, if you want to open, in what kind of mode you want to open? Okay. So if you talk about opening file, okay, there are different modes of opening file. So you have R mode. R is read mode. You have W. W is write mode. And then you have A. A is append mode. Okay. So read, write, append, all three are different modes. Read means when you open a file to read, you can only read the file. You cannot write to it. When you open a file to read, you can only read the file. You can't write to it. You can't write to the file. You can only perform read operation. Write, when you open a file in write mode, you can only write to the file. You can't perform read on your file. You can't perform read on your file. So you have read, write. Append is adding. So you can only add to the file. So when you open some file in write mode, remember existing content is removed, deleted. The difference between write and append. Append, okay, append will write to the existing file. Append will write to the existing file, and so the previous content is maintained. But when you open something in write mode, you cannot save the previous content. So remember, okay, you have important data in your file and you open in write mode, gone. All your file content will be gone. So better when you are experimenting, when you're writing a program related to files, always take a backup of the files. Then you work. And when working is successful, then you go back and, you replace with original files. But first, you always try experimenting with different files, or you take a backup of original files and do it, okay? Because you are playing with files of very high chances that even with experienced programmer, very high chances that you might make small mistake and content is gone. So never ever, play with or develop any application with direct main file. Okay, you have always a backup and you play with backup file. Okay, so that is about it. Now, next thing that you have to understand is that we also have, okay, three more modes: R plus, W plus, and A plus. Okay, so R plus means read, write. W plus means write, read. Append means append and read. So you are opening in both the mode. You want to read and write, and write and read, you can open the R plus and W plus. So can you tell me what could be the difference between R plus and W plus? What is the difference between read and write and read? So difference between write and read is when I tell you to read, okay, I tell you to read, but content I don't give. So what will be your question? You will say, what should I read? Correct. So that means if I tell you to read, what to read has to be there, isn't it? Has to be read, has to be there. That means file has to exist. I cannot ask you to read a file which is not there. But when I talk about write, then file need not be there. If I tell you, okay, write this definition, then you will not say in which book should I write. Whatever book is available, you will write, right? So that means if file is not there, let's say I'm opening this A11txt in write mode. So if A11 is not there, let me see, it is not there, okay? I don't have A11 here, okay? So it will open in same place where your POF file is. My POF file is in this folder, so here you don't have A11. So when I open in W mode, it will create. But if I try to open in R plus or R mode, okay, so I'm opening and I have to close it now, right? Just like database, we open and we close. Here too, we have to close it. Now, when I run this file, okay, see, no file or directory a11.txt. It says you do not have any file. If you do not have any file, then what should I read? It will throw error. So your R or R plus will throw error if file is not there. Even if I open in R plus, okay, this will throw error. So read and write and read is same, except that read plus will need your file. And if I do W plus here, then what happens? Okay, no error. And you see, a11.txt is created. Okay, so write will create, append will create, but read will not create a new file, right? So because reading means you have to read something. What should I read? I cannot read without opening a file. I mean, without file not being there. I can't create my own book and say, I will read this book, right? So for R plus or R, file has to be there. For W plus or W, it will, if file is there, it will write it to the existing file. If it is not there, it will read its own. Make sense? Okay. So this is about, okay. Now there are different functions, okay. Now your functions that are there in write and append are same. Okay, so you have functions which are for read and for write. Okay, so functions, right? Functions that we use. For R, you have read line, read lines. Similarly, for W and append, you have write lines. Okay, so these are the 5 functions that we should know. Okay, since we have opened in W mode, let's try to write. So I'm creating a content call content equal to how are you? Okay, let me write in multi-line. Okay, how are you? I am fine. Can you sing me a song? I can sing a song. Let's say this is the text, 4 lines. Okay, so this is a normal string file, multi-line. I want to write this to file. So what I'll say, since I put it in W plus mode, I can do both read and write. Okay, I can read also file. So if I have to write it, I will say file object dot. So you have write lines, correct? And you have writable and readable. So readable and writable checks if file can be read or written. That means, okay, can you write this file? If I open in read mode, then I can't write to the file. So writable will become false. In this case, both readable and writable will be true. In this case, okay, so I can show you here, okay, print, is it readable? Is it writable? Okay. So for writable, you will say file object dot writable. And for readable, you will say file object dot readable. Okay. Since I open in W plus mode, both will be true. Okay. If I just remove plus, then readable becomes false. Okay. So let's say we open in right mode. See, writable also, append also is act like writable only. Okay. Now I'm saying file object dot write. So you have write and write lines. Write whatever you want to give, you can give and it will write. Write lines means you have to give each line as input. Here I have used triple quotation, so I can give multi-line text. So write, and I'm saying content, right? Is content? Yeah. So now you run it here. No error. Now if you double click on A11, you see the content has been added, right? So this is how you run. So now if I go and run it 10 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let me do only 5 times. So if I double click on it, you see what happened? 5 times it has added the context because we have opened it in what? A mode, append mode. Now, if I replace this with W and now I run it, it deleted the previous content and added a new content. This is right. Now, write lines if you want to do it. So to do the write lines, you have to enter multiple lines. And, okay, multiple lines will be in a list of line format. So here I'm saying first line. And you give /n for new line. Otherwise, it will all come in the same line. Okay. Second line /n. Third line. Okay, so these are, it's a list with multiple text, right? Right. Now I will say file object dot write lines. Write lines will accept list only. That's why I created list. Write lines takes list of text. Now when I run it, you see, first line, second line, third line. Since there is no new line here, the first line got attached here. So instead, if I say I can sing a song and I enter. Now when you run it, so I can sing a song and first line, second line, third line is in next line. And /n will make sure that content is added in different line. Okay, so this is how write works. Okay, now we have to look at read. Now I will close it and then I'll open the file object again in, let's say, read mode. I'll say read. You can say R plus, you can continue because see, reading means it can be done in W also. So I don't have to say this. I can continue here. because W plus means we can read also the content. So I don't have to open it in R again. Okay. I don't have to open, but I'm, for, just to demonstrate that you can open and close again, I'm doing it differently. Okay. Now to read, again, read is like select, right? It will send us the content. So you have file object dot read. Let's focus on read first. Now, when I say read, it will read the entire content. Okay. So I'm printing it onto the screen. So now you see the entire content of the file a11.txt is being displayed here. Entire content is being displayed here. Okay. I can run it again. Now I want to read again. So I will say here, print reading second time. Okay. And I'll say okay. See, I'm duplicating the content here, right? But I'm really not reading it. So to read it, I have to call file object.read, right? So I want to read it again. So what happened? It has read first time, but second time it has not read. Why? See, I give you a book to read, okay? And I tell you, read the book. So you will read entire book. So you are read entire book. Now again, I'll say read. What will you read? You have read the entire book, right? There's nothing else to read. If I tell you read one page, and then if I tell you read, that means you know that I'm telling you to read second page. But if you have read the entire book and then I'm asking to read, what does that mean? There's no sense, right? So that's why it is saying there's nothing else to read, blank. But I want you to read again. So if I wanted to read again, what should I say? When you are at the last, please read from beginning. Correct? So something called as seek in Python. Okay, we have something called as seek in file object. Seek. Seek is like telling you where to go. So before reading, I will say file object dot seek. And I'm saying 0. 0 means go back to the beginning. So here you give the characters. Okay, we give the characters in the bracket. So I'm saying go back to 0th character. Now you will be able to read entire stuff. Right? You read it again. Now I'm saying go back to 0 and now you start reading. So you go back to 0 and you start reading. This is called seek. Now I will take pause for a minute. I want you to reflect what we have done so far. Okay, before we get into the last part of our discussion. Okay. Okay. So this is how you read entire content. If you read entire content, you say simply read. Read will start reading from beginning till the end. Okay. And if you want to move back, not only for reading, for anything. Okay. Okay. For anything, you can move around. Basically, what I'm saying is you can move around. You can go to first text, 10th text. If I put 100, you go to the 100th character. Right? Okay. Now, let's say I want to read only 10 characters. What should I do? I will say here, read only 10 characters. Okay. So I'll say print just to separate from other parts, I'll put 1 here. And I'll put 2 here. Okay. We'll do something else later. So I'm reading 100. So what happened again? Since we did file read, it has gone to the last value. So from last value, I'm saying read 100. There's nothing to read, correct? So I will move this to the beginning again. So now, so when I say read 100 characters, that's read 100 characters. If I say 10, it will read only 10 characters. How are you? It will read only 10 characters. Okay. Now again, if I try to read, what will happen? Since you have read 10 characters and I have not used file seek, you will read next 10 characters. Because how are you? Okay, you ended it here. Now I'm saying read next 10 characters. So you will say you question mark, which is in one line, and then you will go to the next line because you have to read 10 characters. So 2 characters are in first line and rest 8 are in second line. So you'll go to second line automatically. So read does not create difference between lines. Okay, everything is treated as only one. Okay, everything is one. Everything is one. It does not differentiate between, it does not differentiate between one line or 2 lines or different lines. For them, everything is one. Okay, but that's not the case with read line. When I say line, that means I'm saying maximum 1 line. Maximum 1 line. Okay, maximum it can read is 1 line. So when I say read line 10, so read line 10, okay, is how are YO, right? So you will get, okay. Now what happened? Since I said here read 10 and it stopped at where? 5. I am 5. So now I'm saying read line. So this line is read from where you are left. So it's like this. You are reading and you stop at line number 5 mid. I'm saying read the entire line. So you will read only the rest of the line. So it is reading, and in this line you have only any. So even though I have said 10 characters, but that line has only 2 characters left. That line has only 2 characters left. So how many characters it will read? 2. Even though you said 10. See, if total content has only 50 characters and you read 100 characters, you can't read 100. You're saying 100, but it will read maximum 50 characters only. Because only 50 characters are there in the content. So it will read only 50. Rest 50 it will ignore. I mean, there's no characters to read. Similarly, though I'm saying 100, but there are no characters to read. It'll stop there. It will stop there. That is what we are saying, that read line will have scope. The scope is limited to that line. Now, if I say 60 here, then 60 will take you to the first line and then it will read only the content of the first line. 60 will take it to the first line and you read. Now, if I make it 100, then it will read the entire first line. That's it. Okay. It cannot read go beyond because you said line. Line is restricted with the line, current line. So we have seen read with characters, line with characters. And the last one is called read lines. Read lines is going to read lines like list. So write lines takes input as list, read lines will give you output as, so here you say sig 0 and you say read lines. That's it. No more value here. So now when you run the content, content is returned as list of strings. This is what we gave input to write line, if you remember, write lines. So write has only write or write lines. Read has read line, read and read lines. So you will be able to read given content, okay, using read. Append and write same. Only difference is that if you, I mean, there is no option in the function. Function, it's same function for append and write. Only mode is different. Mode append means you are saying keep on adding to the existing data. Okay, write means you are creating a new file, new set of file. So with that, we complete our text file reading. Okay. So let's do that. Okay. So this is the select query, right? Select this one. Okay. Now this one I want to save in CSV. Now, if you remember, CSV first line will have the row headers.
Yes.
And from second line onwards, you have the data.
Yes.
But when you read select, select will only give you data. Select will not give you row headers. So if you want your CSV to have row headers, then you have to manually add row headers. Okay. But if you do not want, it's fine. Okay. We'll see without putting the headers here. So
Okay.
this is your row. Instead of printing, okay, let's save it. Okay. Let's save it in a CSV file. The concepts are very similar. So first, you will open the CSV file and you will open the CSV file in write mode, correct? So I'm
Right.
going to say open a CSV file in write mode. So you will say open, okay, open, and you give the file name. So here I'll give a11.csv, let's say. Now, when you do not give any mode, default mode is read. Okay. So, okay, if I do not give anything, then that means I'm opening this file for reading. Okay. So for reading, you don't have to give R. Okay. If you don't give anything, it means reading. But here I want to open for writing. Correct. So I'm saying this is your CSV object. I opened a CSV object here. Right. Now I have to create CSV writer. Okay. There is slide. That's what there is extra step that you have to perform in this case. Okay. In CSV writing case or CSV reading. Okay. CSV, there is an extra step. So you are saying this. Now I'm going to say here CSV object dot writer. No. CSV dot, okay? Because if you don't give CSV, it will not know that you are using CSV. So CSV dot writer. Okay. So I'm saying CSV dot writer, right? And this one has to be different. Okay. So I'm going to say CSV writer. Okay. I can't use same here. So CSV writer, and now you give the content here. Okay. So CSV dot writer, and you give, okay. Now this has to be done outside here. Setting CSV writer. Okay. So you will say CSV writer equal to CSV writer, and there are few things we have to give. First thing is the CSV object. Okay, CSV object, then delimiter. Okay, in CSV, what is the delimiter? By default, it is comma, right?
Yeah.
But you can even have hyphen, pipe, okay, colon, semicolon, whatever, right? So I'm going to have to indicate what is your default or what is your delimiter. So let's say here we have comma. Okay, and how do you save the quotation character? Okay, so quotation character, I'll give double quotation. Okay, and then I'm going to say new line. Okay, so new line is given here itself. Okay, so new line is, let's say, blank I give. So this is how you set up your CSV writer. Okay, this is getting object. Now I can go and say CSV writer dot no, it's in the bracket. CSV writer dot write row, and then I will give the row here. Okay, hopefully this should do the trick. I will remove this and let's see. So when I run here, okay, duplicate entry, because okay, we are doing here, right? So I'll remove this insert. Okay, and I'll remove this query one also. Okay, we'll only have query 3. Okay, so the data has been read, 0 error means something has happened. Let's see, a11.csv. See, data has been added in CSV format. If you really want to see the actual values, let's go back to its original position. So I'm going to say copy path. Okay, and I will go to that place. Okay, so I don't know what is the problem here. Open in Explorer I give. So see here, this is already in Excel looking format, CSV format. And now
Okay.
I'll double click on it. I'll say open. You see that? Data is saved in a CSV file. This is one column, second, third, fourth. Correct? So this
Yeah.
is how you can write to a CSV file.
Okay.
If you want the header, okay. So if you want header, then okay, you go to Python, and header needs to be done before we start doing the loop, right? So here I will say row, and this will be done only one time, correct? So I can say here first ID, then publisher name, then and then, right? So here you have phone number, email ID, phone number, right? Email is first, phone number is second. So email ID. This you will do it outside loop so that this header appears once. Now when you run it, and let me go and open the CSV. You see this?
Okay.
Data is added in a CSV format. So yes, this is how you can add CSV. So CSV, you have to import CSV, and you have there's two steps. One, you have to create CSV object, and then you have to create a writer object. So writer object needs 3 things. New line character, you must, okay, the input parameter, right? Okay, and then your okay, let's go to program and then see what we're saying. So you need to give first open May, you have to add new line, saying that in new line put blank. If you don't give this right, what happens? It will give you one space of blank every time you insert. Yes, I'm saying new line ignore. And then you have to create a writer object. In writer object, you have to give the object here, this object, plus delimiter and quotation character. That's it. No? Right.
What is the code character? I didn't get that.
Sorry?
In the CSV.writer function, we are adding a parameter, right? Like code character. In line number 16.
Line number. So quote character, delimiter, quotation. How do you
Okay.
add quotation there? The quotation will be in double quotation. That's what we are saying. Okay, quotation character. If you are using quotation character in the text that you want to save, then it is in. So it recognizes that it is a quotation character by when you put quotation in.
Okay, understood.
Yes, so you are defining what all things your this guy will accept. You know, CSV will accept.
Open the CSV. Okay.